Damn, she's loud. Okay.
If you're not going to play a song, I'll sing you happy birthday belated.
I know, that's what you gonna play? What kind of music are you gonna play? Because it gets a little violent on news on the flip side. like last night, we were playing Ramstein Duhas and stuff like that. So I can get kind of so I really thought I'd take a softer approach to this. I mean, last week it was Walking in Memphis by Mark Cohen. So it's just a little bit more laid back. No, I like that song for Nora Jones. I'm from New Orleans. I like a little blues. I
It's
like a
hard
little
to beat
jazz.
Nora Jones.
Yeah,
She's
so I
awesome.
mean, it's
awesome.
it's an easy song. A lot of people don't really know about, so I decided to play it instead of one of the more famous ones. But anyway,
There's another
Scott,
girl that's also amazing too. I just went Yankovic. Yankovic. It's she's another blues jazz singer.
well, send it to my email because I'm
Not Weird
always
Al
looking.
Yankovic, I don't
No,
think.
not
No,
Weird
not
Al. We don't
weird.
need no Weird Al's, but I we pay for ASCAP, so we can play anything we want. I mean, YouTube doesn't really care, but everybody else appreciates that we do it. But that's why I tell people send it to me all the time because I'm always looking for music. I got a lot of shows to play music on, and on my own personal ones, I do 4 a week. So anyway, today we have Scott Barnes with us. Scott is a former winner of Writers of the Future, and God knows what he's been up to since.
This one here. This was his book.
There it is.
Oh, wait, look at that. See,
volume-
this is one I haven't seen. Wait, let me see. Put this up.
This is volume 28.
28. I think I've read volume 28. I'll have to get you to
Insect
tell me.
Sculptor was the title in there.
Insect Sculptor.
It's the last story in the book. And just so you know, when or actually I won't say, but it was a really good story. That's why it's the last story. You always put your strong stories up front and in the back, and so his was in the back, and really awesome. This is and then Stephen Yule's one that did the cover art for this, one of our judges.
Yeah. Oh no, Jimmy, they're gone. You see, they're gone. I'm sorry.
It was a great honor to be included in the book for sure.
Yeah, see, they got. I've got to say, I've been through. I've probably read this. I'll have to go back and or later on I'll get you to tell me a little bit about it. Maybe it'll kick it in my head. But I had this bundle behind me, which was not 30 through 40. I've run through those. And I had picked up a bundle from Galaxy Press, which got ladies and gentlemen, galaxypress.com if you'd ever like to get any of the books. I picked up one of their bundles. I think it was 5 books. And I want to say it was like 23, 24, 25, and 26. I'm not sure. I'd have to go look. They're somewhere in the house. I think they're one of the shelves in here somewhere. But I was just trying to catch up to see, if the stories were consistent. John tells me a lot of stuff, so when he does, I have to go find out for myself. So, and the stories that, okay, that came out wrong. But anyway, the stories are very consistent. And what I mean by that is they're all very well done stories. They seem to be just laid through in a very easy to read fashion. And what I like about this, and I'm not speedy reading, not like the other people I know, especially my wife who reads like warp speed. Oh, give me a book. Oh, I'm done. Give me another book. I'm like, how? I can only afford to buy on 100 million books at a time, woman. She's just a big reader, but it's. I like the fact, so when John sends me these, and I'll usually read them when he sends them to me, and then I'll usually read them on the airplane on the way from out to New Orleans, LA, which is only a 3-hour flight, and I can usually get through the whole book in about 3 hours. Sometimes, depending on what's going on, sometimes I may have to read a little bit at the hotel, but usually I can get through the whole book, which is amazing to me because it's. I mean, y'all can look, people. They're not exactly skinny books. You can see them behind me.
Yeah.
This is 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. Sitting back there. These are all autographed. And these are very weirdly autographed ones. These are originally autographed by all the writers and all the judges who were there, plus their families. So I'm just waiting for one of them to hit it big. So Scott, so first, before we even get into what you're doing right now, let's backtrack a few years. So what are we talking about? A decade since you've been. So what did you think when you got there? I mean, so you win this book, you're like, all right, I'm gonna be in LA, and I'm going out to get an award for being an author. I mean, what did it feel like to you? Because I've asked many people this question now, and I get many different answers.
I'll tell you what. I entered the contest for almost every quarter for 3 years. And I did get an honorable mention. And I think that was almost as big as the win because that was my
Kept you
first
going.
uh, kind of confirmation that I might have a chance, And and so when I got the win, it wasn't quite as surprising, but it was an amazing experience. I went to LA for about a week. Tim Powers was the head instructor and still is, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, he still
And he
is.
was, one of my literary heroes. So to actually have him in front of me talking about his method and the writing and L. Ron Hubbard's writing and all of that was just it was a dream come true, really. But I always tell people the most important thing that I got out of it was, at the end, I went to the gala celebration and they had, I think it was one of the, oh my gosh, who's the singer, John? You probably don't remember, but for one of the American Idol winners, I think, like a
Oh
third
yeah,
place,
yeah.
who sang, and it was a huge event. It's like a mini Oscars or something. And I'm walking out in my tux, and my wife looks at me and she says, "Okay, you can spend time writing." And that was the best thing I got out of the whole deal because before that, she would let me do it, but it was like letting your husband play video games a couple hours
Mm,
every day. You
yeah.
don't really want him to be doing it.
You'd rather him be spending time with you. Yes. No, no, I can truly understand that. Well, I mean, it's a really nice gala. I mean, I've been to three of them. They're really, really nice. They're well put together. They're a lot of fun to attend. The food's good. The people seem to be really nice. Everybody who's working there, from the Writers of the Future staff on up to everybody else, is just really nice people. And I like the press there is very respectful, which is different for dealing with press. I've dealt with a lot of press in my time, and usually it's more arrogance and egotist, than it is actually press going on. But it's nice. It's really comfortable at Rise of the Future. All the press people I met there, even the people that came in from Asian press, everybody was very nice and very respectful, and just
That's
wanted
simple
to.
with us. We have a one strike rule. So
Yeah,
you mess
well,
up
no.
once, you're never invited back. It's real simple.
Yeah, no,
It's
well,
like,
that's the way it should be. I mean, it's the way
yeah,
it should be. I mean, they're and I enjoy talking to, and see, they don't know I'm pressed when I'm there because I'm all decked out in the suit. I'm in tux too, so they have no idea who I am, and I'm just talking to them. And then finally they say, "Well, who are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm owner of United Public Radio and TV. I'm just here as press." And they're like, "Wait, what?"
yeah.
I just stood there, and interviewed them, and it always aggravates me a little bit, but. I like talking to the press. I get to know them that way. And I like to know who the people are that's running around in circles all around us. I want to make sure they're not like, terrorists or anything decide to take us out. No, I'm just teasing people. I'm just teasing. If you get to go, if you're an honored guest or you're a winner and you get to go, I guarantee you're going to have a good time. I haven't seen
Yeah.
anybody there yet that hasn't had a good time. And there's a lot of interesting people that show up. So Steve, so you win this, you say, okay, the wife says, "All right, look, I get to write." So wait, I got to ask you, did you was it like a relief and you went home and started writing? And I said, well, wait, maybe this is a trick. Maybe I need to take a
No,
break or
no, I
something.
actually now I spend about 1 to 2 hours a day writing. I mean, I still have my full-time job and my
Yeah.
family, but yeah, it's a lot easier on the weekends. I just go and do it, and she doesn't say anything, and she's very supportive.
Oh,
Hence,
that's
I have a
good.
book coming out in September and another one coming out July to September, nonfiction that I didn't write, but I'm editing. So it's all paying off. It's all kind of coming together.
Now you
Yeah.
Um,
wrote a book. You published a book, what, 5 years ago now, or whatever? Because you were a guest on my podcast, one of the first
yes.
guests I had, and you did this book. It was your dad's letters, or it was about your father. And
So I've published a few books, two oral histories, my grandmother, my dad, and then in conjunction with an illustrator, Rancho San Felipe, which is a children's picture book about one of the ranchos around here, which is kind of funny because I did that with her years back, and now I'm on the board of a museum that celebrates one of the local ranchos. So it's kind of come full circle. So yeah, I've put out a few things over the years. Yeah.
It's well, it's good. If it's stuff that you want to get pressed for, just let Carmen know. Carmen does a lot of the booking I'd tell you, you have my email now, so you can always email me. But it's a lot of times it's easier to go through Carmen because he gets my attention a lot faster than my email does. Like yesterday, I deleted 12,000 something emails out of there. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
And that was just since midnight.
Yeah, it's just I get a ridiculous amount of emails, and the iCart email is 30 years old and belongs to 3 different organizations, so he gets a lot, and even does my JoJo. So I always tell people like that, if you, I said I can hook you up with Carmen. Well, you know Carmen, so it's different. I said, but a lot of times you can go through Carmen. Because he'll just call me on the phone and say, hey Joe, he's learned don't text me, don't just call me. It's much easier just to call me. Well, if you call me and leave me a message, I'll always call you back. If you text me, I may or may not see it because when I'm at work, when I'm at my day job, I'm busy, so I don't pay any attention to my phone unless I'm expecting customers to call. And so I just put it on non-disturb, slide it in my back pocket, and go. And then when I get in the car, I just wait to hear because how many emails there are or voicemails are, and I go check them. It's because I don't look at anything else. And John knows. John will just call me. It's way easier to get hold of me and call me.
I tried to leave me a message yesterday. And
I know. And that which was odd. So I started deleting them last time. That's odd for mine. Before I usually delete them as I go. Mark, yes. What do you mean? You can get that book we're talking about. The anthology we're talking about right now is available at galaxypress.com. Yes, as far as I know, all the anthologies are still being published. Right, John? From 0 to where we are today, from 1 to 39.
Some of the ones pre 20 are off and on. The earlier volumes, which is unfortunate, but the earlier volumes was pre ebooks. So the contracts we've got does not include ebooks. It doesn't include audiobooks. They didn't exist then.
Yeah.
So for us to get new contracts for every winter, it becomes pretty much untenable. The only thing we can actually do is rip a book apart, scan all the pages, and republish it as one of these books, which is just, we'd have to sell it for like 5 times what it actually costs. So this book here can definitely be gotten still at Galaxy Press. It may also be listed on Amazon, but prior to volume 20, volume 18 we don't have. That's the one where Nydia Corfor and Pat Rothfuss are in that one. So that one's sold out. And again, that's the problem with them, is getting new contracts for everybody, all the winners, writer winners and artist winners and judges who participated. So it's a massive amount of work for negligible return.
Yeah, I was wondering why, because my collection's almost complete, but there's about 4 I haven't been able to.
Yeah, so those, if you're missing stuff, either you might be able to find them on Amazon or eBay. That's how other people have gone to complete their collection.
Go to a lot of times you'll find them. I can't remember the name of that used book place, but a lot of time you'll find them there. Well, if you don't mind a used book, people, you'll be surprised at books you can find. You'll be surprised at the prices you can find them for.
Yeah,
it's some people just they've read them as much as they can read them, and oh no, you're talking about that 800-year-old Christian Bible. No, I don't think you can buy that on eBay. Last time I seen that Arab guy was holding on to it like this. I don't think anybody's getting to until he dies. I don't think the book's going anywhere. No, it's not something. That's not true. Coming up in a couple of weeks, we're going to be doing all of the old holy. So a long time ago, I got the chance to look at one Bible that's about, I think it was 1,400 years old. And it's funny because you couldn't touch it. You looked at it and they had a guy who had a little thing that flipped the pages for you. He didn't touch it either. Nobody got to touch the damn book. And it was in a special room and a special catacomb. It was just I wasn't there for that. Actually, I was there for something else. Got level 2 clearance in a catacomb, but I wasn't there for that. But while I was
in a special building in Italy.
Yes. So I was there to look at other things that we're not going to talk about on this show. But while I was there, I was just talking with somebody there, and he said, "Oh no, on the level you're on, they have this. Why don't you take a look?" And sure enough, you couldn't turn it down. Once you seen it, you were like, "Jesus, man, how can you not look at this?" And no, it wasn't in English. I want to say it was Latin. It may not even been Latin. I'm not sure because he was reading, and it didn't sound like any language I was familiar with. I'm pretty familiar with Latin and Pig Latin. Yeah, all my friends when they were young always wanted to talk in
Pig Latin.
Yeah, they always wanted to do that half. But
hey, OJ,
it's just retarded stuff. No, it was very cool to see it though. No, it was, and and it's hard to get permits to go in there. You got to go through all kind of background checks. I hate to say this, I got a class 10 security clearance, like one of the highest you can get in this country, and I didn't go through as much bullshit to get in as I did to get in the Vatican. I ain't kidding you. They not only did they want to know everything, they want to know family line and Catholics all the way back for, I don't know, like 500 years. Thank God I had family in Italy. That's probably the only thing that helped me. Don't ask
Really?
me.
That's
Yeah,
fascinating.
I think that's the only reason. We got some. How can I say this? We got some really poor relatives over there, but we got some really wealthy ones too. Like one of them, we helped him. He had a monastery it's in Montalto, Italy, and it was falling apart. And he had actually contacted me on one of my radio shows, and we put out. We got him. I think it was like $800,000 in donations, so he could fix it all. And so after that, since I shared the same last name with him, we're kind of like, hey, so it's kind of cool. It had some perks apparently. Oh no, Gene. So tell me about your story. I mean, we don't want you to tell everything because it's still available to be sold. So
Insect
just kind of tell
Sculptor?
me about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do my best. I generally write a story and then I put it out of my mind.
I'm the same way, so don't feel bad.
But yeah, it's about an artist. Basically, I write fantasy, mostly a little science fiction, and I was a little tired that most stories are about, the end of the world coming and so forth. I wanted to write something a little bit different. So I said, what would be, as important to someone in a certain situation that's not the end of the world? And I decided to write about an artist in the near future, kind of a science fantasy type story, who sculpts things using insects. They've created a device where you can use insects and basically tell them what to do and create temporary sculptures with these living creatures. And so he's attained a certain level of fame in Canada and decides to travel to Africa to study with the person who founded this particular art form. But he has to audition, and of course that doesn't go so well. And then there's the woman who gives him the interview that he falls madly in love with, but she may or may not actually be human.
Oh shit.
And then there's of course the artist somewhere in the background kind of manipulating things. So it's a lot of fun.
How do you pronounce that? The city that says is Côte d'Ivory. How do you pronounce that?
Côte d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast.
Yeah, I know it's the Ivory Coast, but it doesn't mean I know how to pronounce it.
It's
because that's the first line of your story. I arrived at the Hive Cabaret in Abidjan. Your word?
Côte d'Ivoire.
Côte d'Ivoire.
Côte d'Ivoire.
Yeah.
Okay, good. An hour before my audition. There you go. That's your opening sentence.
See, go check it out, people. Just go over to galaxypress.com. It's easy to just go to Galaxy. I know y'all can go find stuff on Amazon, but it's easy.
It's right to feature volume 28.
Yes, it's volume 28. Just go over and buy one, pick it up. Buy it for your kids. Well, I can't say get it for Christmas, but get it for a birthday. Get it for, hey, down here it's Mardi Gras. Give it to somebody a Mardi Gras present.
Valentine's Day is coming up pretty soon too.
That's Valentine's Day is the day after.
Find it for you.
That's right. Valentine's Day is after Mardi Gras, day after, so y'all can go get it. What is that? Denise Reefer? Is that your last name? Reefer. I'm sorry. Hey, I didn't want to call you Reefer Head. Denise Reefer. I'm sorry. Where are you actually from? Queensland. I've always wanted to go to Queensland because that's where Pine Gap is. You ever see any UFOs down there? Anyway, what's
Let's stay on this show. This topic here is books. We're authors and books.
I couldn't help myself. Anyway, she
that's why I'm here, to keep you on track.
Let me get recomposed here. She wants to know, do you have something out she can read right now besides this? Because she said she's going to go get this story. And you get 12 stories actually when you get this story. You're not just getting one. And then, but she wanted to know if there was something she's looking for. I do remember your comments from last week. So she's looking for something that's scary enough, like Chucky, but actually has some class to it. I'm not exactly sure what kind of class she's looking for here, but I guess she's just tired of these, murder books and it's just kill, chop your head off, stab somebody back. I understand what you're saying.
I do have a horror short story in an anthology called History and Horror. Oh my! And it's dear to my heart because it's a Western horror story set in Nevada. But I'm just one story in this anthology. But that, I grew up on a farm. I could turn the camera around, you could see it, but because I'm at my family home.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really like that. I've written a couple of those. I like setting things in smaller towns. As far as fantasy, science fiction type novels, my first one is coming out in September. So you'll have to wait. But there is a strong mystery element to that. And it's set in Baja California, which is pretty unusual, I think. I've never read one set there. So
yeah, we know California itself is, well, if it doesn't become Atlantis here soon, from what I've been hearing.
Yeah.
I hear y'all are seeking fast out there, man.
Yeah, a little bit there. But another good psychological thriller, which is like the granddaddy of the psychological thriller, which is like a subset of horror, is a book called Fear. I don't know if you read that, Scott, or not. The story Fear by L. Ron Hubbard.
It's probably my third or fourth favorite by L. Ron Hubbard. Yes, it's a great novel.
Yeah, you read that too, didn't you, Joe?
Yeah, it's actually I listened to it, but
yeah,
that's it. Yeah. Yes, that's it right here.
Yeah, Fear.
There it is, guys. Right. It's got a great cover on it too. Actually, this one's still in the plastic, which means this one can be given away. There's actually two of them. And I believe, now that I said it, yep, I have one of these left.
Wow,
the audio version.
It's multicast. Yeah. It's like all the sound effects, like radio theater.
Didn't Stephen King say he was inspired by that to
Stephen King was.
Yeah.
And Ray Bradbury was so inspired by it. He actually hired people to turn it into a play that they could like perform, and he could get the idea of how Hubbard did some of the different things he did to create the suspense. So it was an actual play that he did. He didn't record it. They produced it for him, so he could get how Hubbard created that suspense and what he did, so that he could use that in his own writing.
Yeah, it's a very psychological. It goes really in depth, and you're never quite sure if what's happening is in the character's mind or real or some combination.
Yeah, like you start to be like, this is absolutely plausible. It could actually happen, and so that's what makes it even more spooky. And so this girl that asked, this is something that is it's best not to read it at night. A lot of people say, no, I can't read it at night before going to bed. So now, Scott, you're still there in Orange County, right?
Yeah, most of the time. I'm in Julian right now, outside of San Diego. But yes,
okay. But your home's in Orange County, so in Julian. So that's So it was a cheap plane fare for Scott to get up to the awards event.
Well, I hope you got a boat out there outside of San Diego. I was talking to a friend of mine from San Diego. He was trying to talk me into coming down and bringing a crew. Because we specialize in being in Louisiana, we specialize in flood damage. And he's like, you ought to come down. You ought to come down. You ought to come down. I said, man, I don't know if I got enough people to leave up here and to come down there at the same time. But we do specialize. That's what we do, hurricane damage down here. But and the best part is we know how to deal with the insurance company. That's the hardest part.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it wrecks your house and your life is but if you don't have a contractor that knows how to deal with your insurance company, you are not going to get what you want out of it. They just do not care what the homeowners think. So now, once you be a famous novelist with like 4 movies to your credit, then they'll say, yes, sir. What can I do for you, sir? Can I have your autograph, sir? The things change then, but until then.
Right.
It is weird to see that much rain out in California, though. It really is.
Yeah, we got another major one coming in tomorrow. They're saying they're having news alerts coming up saying for Sunday and Monday, just like they've been saying, okay, prepare, because this is going to be the biggest one yet in the last couple of years.
Yeah, so
damage is always in the same locations, right? Mission Valley and Malibu and a few other places. I mean, where my office is, we noticed a little water coming down, and we kind of went and looked up, and there was a whole pipe just open to the air. And we had never noticed it before because we get so little weather rain. Yeah, we're like, oh, we shouldn't have an open pipe through the ceiling.
Yeah, so that's a bad thing. Janet Reno is writing in. She is from Saskatchewan, Canada, and this is for both of y'all. Actually, for all 3 of us. She wanted to know what is the scariest book you have ever read. I think there was one we were just talking about. But anyway, any others out there? Because everybody wants to be scared lately. What is this?
Fear is the scariest novel for me. And then, but maybe even more scary is something called Dark Descent, which chronicles kind of horror throughout the ages.
I don't
And
know if I've
and
seen it, heard that.
it's a big fat volume, and it divides things up into like psychological horror and ghost stories and other things. And I can't tell you the individual stories, but I had to put it down and read it in periods, like a week and then off and then another week, because that was very scary.
Well, there's one that I've read several books, and it's a near future science fiction military thriller. It's called The Monroe Doctrine by James Rassone. He's been a guest on the podcast, and it takes place just in near couple of years down the road from now. But he is like 25 years in the military. He was an interrogator in the Mideast, and so he knew a lot of this stuff and has his own opinions about things that happened. With what you hear on the media versus what really happened, because he was there. But he talks about this this computer program, or this computer site that that China has created, that everybody becomes addicted to, and China's using it for their AI to learn.
It's called
Computer learning.
TikTok.
It's called TikTok, and they're learning on it. And from there, they built up more and more and more. It's called Jade Dragon. Is the name of the computer, and they launched World War III. They then go ahead and attack. How they go about doing it, and it just gradually escalates. I'm in volume 7 now, but it's the whole thing of AI, then creating the AI robots that can actually autonomous, and because it's Jade Dragon is so advanced, it's more advanced than any other computer on the planet. So it can, because it's been tracking everybody from doing these following on TikTok, it knows what people will do. It can profile by country and by leader, and they do all the fake. The AI has all the fake videos and fake posts, and they can duplicate what the voices say. So they put up these posts of the president saying things that he didn't say or she didn't say, and it creates internal strife, and then that sets it up so that there can be distraction enough for attack. That to me that's one of the scariest things. That's closest to what I see happening in current, scenarios. And so that's like reality, but that's like he's written things, so it's like it starts off in 2025, so it's like a little over a year from now. I'm like, wow. And I've interviewed him on the podcast, but that one's really, to me, is very, very scary, because that's so close to reality being near future, like next year.
Jack, I'm hoping I'm dead before AI takes over. Reese, yes, I do remember the Omega Man, and it was scary, but only because I was little when I seen the Vincent Price movie. That's the only reason. No, when I read the book, but that's because I seen the stupid movie first and then read the book, so it made it double scary for me. And because the movie was scary when you're 5. Now, when you're my age now, it's just funny as hell. But
Right.
when you watch it today, it's funny. I mean, maybe if you're a kid, it's not funny, but no, I mean, back then that was scary stuff, man. Today, it's not. No, it was like there was some zombie movie used to scare the crap out of me too. My mom used to laugh her ass off. It's I still don't like zombies as a full grown ass man. That's why I own all them swords in the other room. I still don't like them stuff. I'm ready for the zombie apocalypse. No. I've read different things scare. I'm not a really easily scared person to start off with, but the bravest person I ever knows is Linda. She's insane. I mean, I'll go walking on military bases and shit. She don't care. And and then there, of course, there's Michelle DeRoche, who likes to go sleep in dead people's houses and stuff. I don't think anything scares her. That's our station manager, ladies and gentlemen. And she will go. She's got Bled and Pale as chainmail. Yes, she hangs it behind on her chair. Any place she can go that anybody like that's been or slept or been in, she'll go get in their bed and stuff, or bring their furniture home to her house. She's crazy. Huh. She's crazy. That's why she's a station manager, because she got to deal with all these crazy hosts we got. I don't want to go sleep in nobody's dead house. Come on. Amityville, how many people died there? I don't want to go sleep there. I don't have no desire. And if I do sleep there, I'm bringing Martha with me. Yes, my 9mm. That's Martha. Yes, she's coming with me. So I'll make sure they don't come back. I don't know. I just, there's a lot of scary stuff out there to watch. There's lots of scary movies to watch. I really like near sci-fi. I like what can be scary, but I like it to be fun. Like in Expanse, when the guy hits the ring and all you see is the image of him just turning into liquid and going forward. That's a good scene because that's actually how that shit would happen when you're going that fast and you just stop. And then stuff like I'm the Man, those kind of things stick with you in certain scenes. But there's a lot of good stuff to watch. It's just, unfortunately for me, I think I've watched everything now, I don't know, 3 times, 4 times. So
yeah, I'm a fan of the genres like Resident Evil, where it's
yeah,
horror, but it's more action than horror.
yeah, it's a lot of action with some horror thrown in there. With a
Yeah.
horror base with a bunch of action on top of it, I guess would be a better way of saying it.
Underworld, Resident Evil, and that sort of thing are a lot of
What do you
fun.
got? 5 Resident Evil movies now, I think 4.
6, I think.
Yeah, it might be. There's a bunch. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I've seen like 3 of. What do you mean, Raccoon City? People, you should know. If you play Resident Evil, you should know all of that. No, I never played Raccoon. Shh, what are you trying to get me in trouble? Lord, the only one I ever got mad at my son playing was that stupid clown game because it was very violent, but there was a lot of sex violence in it. I was like, "Whoa, son, how old are you? Like 8? No, you don't need to play this game for another 10 years or so." I was like, "Get off of this." I can't remember the name of it, but it was definitely crazy. What do you mean, Janine? You mean fear games? I don't. It's hard to have. Okay, it's hard to do a game like a movie where you're on the edge of your seat being scared. It's because you have more control in the game than you do in the movie. So you know what the next move's going to be and stuff like that. And you've probably already had your head chopped off like 5 times, so it doesn't really have the same effect, I'm just saying, it's different. It's different. I can't honestly say I've ever been scared by any games I've played. And
No, maybe some VR games could do that, but I haven't played any.
Yeah, I haven't played any of those. I could either, but what's my favorite game ever? I'm not going to tell you because you'll just laugh. No.
Pong was fun. Go ahead, Joe. It's fine.
It was Pebble Beach. I love to play golf again. I say it's Pebble Beach Golf Course. Yeah.
Oh, golf course. I thought it was a sim.
No, I did play The Sims, and I did like what's it called? Civilization. Civilization was a good game because it was really based on our politics and on the way the world works. So it was fun, and of course the game could last for 2 weeks at a time. So especially if you're playing 36 countries. But anyway, we don't care about all of that. What's that, Johnny? Oh, so I think you said it, but I'll ask him again. So Johnny's just asking, what is your favorite genre to write in? What do you really feel comfortable writing in? I'm pretty sure I told this earlier, but we're going to ask him again.
Yeah, I'm more of a fantasy writer. I do some science fiction elements, but it's what you'd probably call science fantasy because I don't try to make the tech accurate. I tried that route for a while, and I was reading all the science journals and everything. Because I have sort of a scientific mind, but I didn't like what I was writing any better than the fantasy, and I was spending hours and hours and hours reading science journals. In fact, I felt that working too hard on the technology took away from the characters. So I stick with fantasy mostly, and I do like short fiction in that sense because I can experiment a little. I can write a sci-fi story here, I can write science fantasy there, and so forth. And just see if I want to go that way. But I always come back to fantasy. What David Farland, one of the former judges there, called wonder literature, where the first and primary emotion you're trying to garner from your reader is a sense of wonder. And I never got over that. Reading The Lord of the Rings the first time and reading Chronicles of Narnia the first time, or Earthsea. It's just a sense of wonder as you're carried through these worlds that these amazing authors have created. If I can get somewhere near that, I'll be very happy.
The Lord of the Rings got me through tech school in the Navy. I got to say, it helped me out a lot because my brain would get so intense with all the electronics and air stuff all day when I couldn't sleep, and I'd just pick one of them up. And a friend of mine had never even heard of him. I was 19 at the time, never even heard of him. He said, "Here, read this," and he handed me the first one. I started reading, and I was like, once I got into it, I was just gone in the book. And I got to say, it's probably one of the first books I've read that the movie wasn't horrible after the book. Well, you never know what you're going to get with a movie when it comes out of a book. You just never know what the hell you're going to end up with. But no, it did. It did help me get
did an
through.
amazing job. Yeah, with
they
those.
no, they did an amazing job with it. No, I read actually. See, I read the Lord of the Rings first, and then I read the Hobbit afterwards. Yes.
Mhm.
Because that's how it was given to me. So I should have read The Hobbit first, but I read Lord of the Rings first. Well, some of the things in Lord of the Rings would have made more sense if I'd have read The Hobbit first. That's all. It's but it's like I was listening to a group the other day talking about reading J.K. Rowling's books and what the difference between the books were and the actual movies themselves. I be honest with you, I've never read J.K. Rowling's books. I don't know. And but I heard a lot of people. Some people really said it was good, and some people really said that they did a botched job. Harry Potter was Harry Potter to me. That's what it was. It was fun to watch. I don't think it was supposed to be meant to be taken real serious. I think it was just supposed to be.
Yeah,
fun
that was unfortunate when she kept on getting attacked and having to defend herself and what her different characters were. I enjoyed this series. I like sometimes just a fun YA book. It's a standard MO, it's like you've got a little kid that never follows directions. You say, don't go in there, and they go in there, and that's the start of your story. And that's just Harry Potter to the T.
That's what it was. And
if you wanted to enjoy that, and it was fun. It was just refreshing.
And at least she was smart and stayed out of politics till after they were written, because I know when she wrote her second set of books, I can't think of the name of them now. She started talking about her politics, and her sales were far less than the original. And I tell it to people all the time. You talk politics unless you're willing to lose half your audience.
Yeah.
It's just part of it. What you got back there, Steve? Let's see what kind of books you got back there, man.
It says ringer off, but it lied to me.
It lied to you. It's so that's what I tell people all the time. Unless you're willing to deal with the problems of talking about politics, you should stay out of it. And she found out the hard way. What was the one, the animals? What were they called? Oh man, I can't think of it for nothing.
Oh, but those were, I don't think she wrote those. I think those were movies.
Yeah, they were movies, but she had nothing to do with it.
I see her,
something like that. Yeah, because I seen her names on them. I don't know if she wrote them or helped produce them or what the hell went on there. Or they talked her into just stamping her name on there, which I'm not going to rule that out. I'm not going to rule it out, but it was kind of based on the Harry Potter series, so it was funny. I just I try stuff like that. I try to stay out of politics. Some stuff I expect, like the Expanse series, and I expected to see politics in that. That's the kind of series it is. Or like Altered Carbon, I expected to see it there too, and other places, but not so much in these. I mean, these are supposed to be fun. Besides, kids don't know what the hell politics are anyway. Only thing they know about is what mom and dad are screaming at the TV about. That's the only thing they really know. And I wouldn't want to write a political book. We'll leave that for John. His first novel is going to be
I'm sure.
We want to write a book.
He's well known for speaking political thoughts on the air.
No. Actually, it's not a rule on our network. It is a thing we tell people that be careful. See, it's different for me because I'm a centrist anyway, so it doesn't matter if I talk about politics. I piss off both sides regularly, so it doesn't really hurt. It doesn't really hurt my listenership on any of my other radio shows because they don't care. As long as I'm picking on both sides, they don't care. If I take a side, oh no, then there goes half my audience. But as long as I hate on both sides, they don't care. But it's hard, for people to do that.
Really hard. On Writers of the Future, I mean, I make a point of not being political and staying clear of that because I've got the full spectrum with Writers of the Future because writers and artists are the full left and right.
Yes,
so when I post the picture with, I mentioned this to you last week or before, Joe, and you immediately gave me your perspective on it, which is the reason why I never do this stuff. I had a picture with me with Adam Schiff, and we're
not even going to use his name correctly.
And you immediately reacted on that. And then on the other hand, I had a picture with someone who's Joy. She's the one that used to go to the events and wearing the Trump the Joy. I forget her last name right now, but she went to the uh, Grammys a couple times and wearing those dresses she made that had like the dead babies and stuff, making her political stuff there, and she was.
Yeah, yeah, I remember
And
that.
so I had that there, and then the people on the left said, "How can you do that?" So it's just kind of like I stay clear of that whole thing because
Best thing to do.
Rise of Future is totally about the arts, writing and art, and it's not political. And so I never let my political views come out in there, no matter how I feel like, oh, I got to say something, because I don't got to say something.
No, you don't. You don't.
You know,
I tell it to people all the time. I said, you don't have to, because people don't want to express their politics to me all the time when they hear me. I'm like, you don't have to express your politics. You can keep them to yourself. You know that, right? Oh, but what's the good of keeping them to yourself? I said, somebody won't smack you upside your head.
Yeah.
Well, today's dangerous to talk about politics. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm big guy, so most people aren't going to bug me about it. But and I will tear somebody up on politics. Doesn't matter, I'm just as bad about tearing up Governor Newsom as I am about tearing up Governor Santos. It doesn't matter to me. I find fault with both of the idiots. So, I can get away. That's why I said I can get away with it, but most people can't. We had what's his name on Johnny Lead on he was the guy, the hitman for the Gambino family. He was the one who went around taking care of everybody for Mr. Gambino, and even he, who served jail time in a Brazilian prison and a Turkish prison, was scared to talk politics. That should warn everybody right there. I mean, this guy served 7 years in a Brazilian prison, did 5 in a Turkish prison, and was scared to talk politics. That should just tell you all you need to know. Just stay away from it. It was, and he was definitely the hitman for the Gambinos for a long time.
That's unfortunate, because it shouldn't be that way. But it's same thing talking religion. You can't talk religion.
You can't talk religion either.
That's equally as divisive as politics, and it's unfortunate because that tends to further imbue the divisiveness. Because the more you don't talk about it, then the more it gets it causes that.
They just need to learn tolerance is all it is. Look, you don't like somebody's politics, don't listen. You don't have to start a confrontation. Same thing with religion. You don't have to start a confrontation. I guess after 2,000 years of killing each other, probably more like 5,000 years of killing each other over religion, it's hard to stop. But
then you take a look at, I don't have a problem talking about media. So LA Times, they're absolutely horrific. You can take an incident and they'll turn it into controversy or somehow to show how it's bad. Like you see shootings is like the last shooting in Las Vegas. The article came out like it was multiple deaths in the shooter, and it came out there was one, but they take it to the extreme, and they don't understand why it is that their readership continues to get less and less and less. They had to fire off a bunch of people. They got a new editor-in-chief now because the other one quit. They had to fire another 20 of their staff, and it gets worse and worse and worse. But it's just they've got this weird mentality that they need to create this the controversy, the harm, the dialectic materialism, big money, blood. The more that has that, the top right column of any newspaper has got the most of those points in it. But that's what their mentality is. And it's just unfortunate. It creates that. And so you can see something on LA Times, if Trump says something, you're going to have, your Fox News, you're going to have your right wing stuff, and then you have your left wing. So LA Times guaranteed to spin it, left, and you're going to have something on the right spinning it right. It's just automatically you're going to have that. There's no just straight, here's the facts, here's the news, here's what's happening. And that's why the one I like is the 1440. I don't know if you've listened to that or used that as a news source. That's what I read, because you just say, here's the date on, you can make your own decision on what you think.
So that's what we do on Friday night. So we take, like last night we crossed, I think 30 topics. Last week we did more. So we actually will most of the time tell you where the topic's coming from, what article, who wrote the article. Because you can tell when it's an NBC or a CNN. CNN now is getting a little more blurred, so they must have picked up some conservatives recently. But NBC, when you're reading it. So there was this thing that came out about Trump in Georgia. because it looks like now that the Georgia case isn't going to go to trial before the election. So I went on 4 conservatives and 4 lefties.
Liberals.
Oh my God, it's just too funny because first off, they're like complete opposites. Like conservatives, oh my God, look at this, another victory for Trump, blah blah blah. And of course, the conservatives, oh no, this is just a way to slow it down, but he's still going to prison, blah blah blah. And they can't get in the middle. So when we read the article, I read the article. Said, look, guys. I said they want to investigate this girl because she was sleeping with her prosecutor, so they want to investigate her. I said that's what's going on here. The judge, the group of 9, put a stay on the case until they can find out that there's not other funky stuff going on here. So yeah, they're probably right. It won't, but that's all the story was. It wasn't really a lefty or a righty story. It was just, hey, we caught the main prosecutor doing funky stuff. She paid her boyfriend more than she paid anybody else by $100,000 a year. And they were supposed to be working hourly. And then, of course, she's sleeping with the guy and he's in charge. After her, she's in charge of the case. So it could be just a tiny bit of conflict of interest. So they're looking into it, which, of course, slowed it down. But that's all the case was. It wasn't, Trump stabbed at her death or anything like that. It was. And we had a lot of people write into us. Oh, thank you. That's what it was. Because basically what we do a lot on Friday night is clarify. Because you get so much. Even Fox has gotten so bad about it. They'll put out a story and you're like, no, that's not what this story actually is. Let's talk about what's actually going on here. Like they put out a big story. They put out teasers for the the B-21 Raiders coming out. They're going into mass producing. Well, they had all these stories about this murderous jet and this other thing, and then they had it as a hunter. It was a stealth hunter killer. It hunted down. None of this is true, by the way. It doesn't hunt down stealth planes. It's not what it does. It's a bomber who carries nuclear weapons to blow the living crap out of stuff. But even that was different in every article. They just couldn't put down what the airplane was. All this article was about is the United States decided, the Pentagon decided we're going to mass produce the B-21 bomber for the U.S. Air Force, and this is what they do. And that was it. But when you read the other articles, it was all kind of just park belly garbage loaded into the articles that had no business being there. So, an article that took 20 minutes to read on CNN took about 2 minutes to talk about on live on the air. It's just sad. It's just sad. I mean, it's like when we get new, it's the same thing, though, because when people send me stuff about, oh, I got a new book out, a lot of times I'll get a description longer than the book. Like, come on, man. I'm like, come on, people, get a grip on this shit. I'm like, you can't. Or my favorite thing is in authors, all authors are bad about this, especially newbies. The older they get, the better they get. But I cannot tell you how many authors I've interviewed were talking, la, 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 just chit-chatting, la, la, la. And I say, tell me a little bit about the book. And they'll tell me like the start of the book. And I say, just talk about the middle. Don't go, oh, no, they'll talk about, and then, of course, I got to talk about what's going on at the end. Well, you can't do that. Most Americans are smart enough. You're giving them 3 pieces, they're going to figure out the story, and then they're not going to buy the book. And
that's part of what we do. You've been there for that. And I don't know if we had it when you were there, Scott. We do now we have an official, the day after the awards ceremony, we do a how to promote yourself. And one of the things we go over also is the elevator pitch or the description of the story that makes the person want to read it and not give away the story.
Yeah.
I don't know if we had that when you were there.
I don't think you did. And man, I'd love to sit in on that. That would be great.
Yeah, it's a real good thing. And maybe if you're, I'll just shoot me an email after this thing, so that when we do it this year, I'll invite you to come to us. It'll be on Friday, the day after, if you're not working, on Friday, the day after the award ceremony, to be there and just how we do it, because it's quite fascinating. We go over we call it the elevator pitch, but it's talking about your story that's going to result in somebody wanting to buy and read it.
It's a good class. I've sat in it. So
yeah,
it's somebody asked me this.
Right for the airport for that.
Okay, good. Yeah,
I've been volunteering. In fact, Joe, I knew I'd seen your name earlier because you were on my list to give a ride to the airport at one of the rides of the future.
Oh yeah, look, yeah. Well, I like to talk.
It turned out someone else got that trip. But,
I've
been meeting so many interesting people by volunteering for that.
That's great that you help on that.
Yeah, it is, and there's so many good people involved in that.
Much more than a week.
So I was at
thanks.
A whole week.
I was at Mississippi State recently giving away books is what I was doing. And it was a lecture on politics. And I was talking about it. Usually at the end, Writers of the Future will come up on some of these lectures, mainly because of stuff I've mentioned during a lecture. But so somebody's like, well, you should put a course together on everything. I said, no. I said, first off, John would shoot me. I said, actually, John would shoot me. Emily and Joni would beat the crap out of me is what would happen. And because they hear me talk about it, but it's all teaser stuff. I don't really go into any details because most of what I have or what I listen to from like Tim and Jody or anybody who's speaking, goes in the back of my head or goes into a notebook for stuff that I might personally be working on. And when people hear us talk about it, they're all like, well, God, it would save us so much time. I said, well, there is a course on writersofthefuture.com. I said, just go over there and take the course. It amazes me. You tell these people about this course 50, 60, 70 times. But yet the next question is, well, you should just put it on an audio tape for us so we could listen to it in our car. I said, then we'd have to charge for it. I said, that would be a big mess. I said, there's too many people involved. I was like, it wouldn't work. He's like, well, what do you mean? I said, no, there's a lot. I said, each judge would have to give their permission. I said, it would be a nightmare. I said, there's too many involved. I said, all I can tell you is if you want to do it that way, you got to win. That's all I can tell you. If you want to hear it from this side, you're going to have to win. I mean, I understand their points because when I was talking with this, Sean Haslam and I were talking about this a couple of weeks back. And when you talk about it, it does sound like a really good idea. But when you put it into theory for what it actually is, it sounds like a really bad idea. So it's just one of those things that's not going to ever happen. So don't worry about it. But it's when they hear us talk about different things that you're learning or different suggestions or stuff that you hear. Like I was talking about what's her name with the where she rolls the dice and you pick the
Nina Kariki Hoffman.
Yeah. I was talking about her and everybody say, oh my God, that sounds so great. I said, well, you don't need to take the course. I said, you can actually look that up online if you want. Or I said, I can give y'all more details. I said, because in the beginning I told her no. And she said, oh no, Joe, you got to do this. And I'm like, really? I said, I'll go right, give me the stuff. I'll give it a try. No, I wasn't part of the class, people. I was there working press, but obviously she decided I was part of the class.
Yeah. So I'm curious, Scott, anything that you remember from like the workshop that's like any of the essays or any of the stuff? Like you said, you had Tim and the other, was it Tim working?
Nina was there. She was the other person, Nina Kariki Hoffman.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was a long time ago. I mean, the thing that's probably most people think was most impactful was the 24-hour story.
Now I was just getting ready to ask you if y'all did it. Then. That's my favorite thing, by the way.
What did we have to pull something out of a hat that had, and there was an L. Ron Hubbard article of the same name that we read beforehand, and then
magic out of the hat, yeah,
magic out of a hat, and then go to the library and grab a book at random, I think, and then interview someone at random on the street, as I recall, were the three things, and then whatever you got, no matter how unlikely, you had to put that together in a 24-hour story. You had 24 hours to write it.
I got to say, I've read some pretty good stories out of them 24. I haven't read them all since I've been there, but I've read a lot of them, at least 20 of them. And
well, the story I mentioned that was in History and Horror Oh My was that story, actually. It was purchased for that.
That happens so often for authors that continue on. Their 24-hour story ends up getting sold. That's way cool.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who it was.
The person I happened to mention, or I happened to interview on the street there, of course, it's Hollywood, so it's not that surprising, but was a magician. And he started to show me his close magic, and it was as good as anything I've ever seen, and he could just make things disappear right in front of you. And it was really a blast. So I used that as inspiration for the story.
Well, that's cool.
I love them 24 hours. I was just yesterday, I was working on a website. I was putting up some pictures for the last 3 years. And which I got a lot of you, John, and I got a lot of Emily too. Well, I got a lot of everybody, but I was putting them up, and there's lots of pictures of Tim Powers. One year asked me, he said, "Can you go up and just sneak around and get pictures of them?" I think we were at the Roosevelt that year, and everybody was downstairs. At least more than half of them were downstairs in the lobby writing, and I was sitting upstairs on the next floor up with the camera zooming in. It was just some of these faces are just, y'all got to see. These are priceless. It's like. But I can't remember. I was going to meet John for breakfast one morning. I got early, and it was like 7:30 in the morning. And the guy hands me, "Can you read this real fast? Tell me what you think." And I read it. It was a really good story. I said, "Well, this is really good, man. You ought to sell this damn thing." And then I remember, I think when we interviewed him, Carmen booked him 6 months later. He said he had sold the story. It's for the life of me, I can't remember who the hell it was. And I'm like, you want me to read at this time in the morning? I said, let me at least get a cup of coffee, man, so I can read. It was a good story. And but I remember a couple of them telling me stuff like, oh, I wrote it and I tore it up. I wrote it and I trashed it. I wrote it and trashed it. And I looked at the clock. It's 4 a.m. I'm like, oh, what I'm going to do? Because they got to have it for like 8. And and then some people said just sat down and wrote it. It's amazing to me the difference in the way people's minds work. Because I mean,
Right. See, I'm a morning person, so I think when I went to bed, it was not late because that doesn't work for me. It was like 11, and I just got up at 5 and wrote it, and that works really well because I'm a morning person. Plus, it has to be done by 8 or whatever, so my mind just clicks into gear. Okay, it's got to be done by this time,
and I think that was true for some people.
That's good.
Yeah. And then I seen some of them just sit down. I can't remember. Oh, I think it was Chris. Just went and got a cocktail and sat down and started writing. And one of the girls just sat down and started writing. And it's hard because it's not real noisy down there on the weekdays. When closer you get to the weekend, the worse it gets. But there's a lot of milling around going on. And there's a lot of us walking around. You'll see either people like me or John or somebody else, the judges and all, just milling around doing stuff, just, so they want to be available so people can talk to them, which is why they're there. And it's funny because sometimes when people are trying to write this story, it makes them nervous because they feel like they're missing out on something. They want to write the story, but they see Tim over there or somebody else over there they want to talk to, so they want to stop and go talk to them and then come back and write, or go maybe get some suggestions and come back and write, or things like that. But it is really weird to watch them. It really is. It's fun, but you'll see when I post them on. Some of the expressions are just horrible. I was like, oh my God, this guy looks like he's about to commit suicide, man. It was bad. But I got some good pitches with the judges, and I got some good pitches with Writers of the Future people. I'm going to have to, I'll probably won't get finished with this for another 2 weeks, but because I didn't realize I had 2,800 pictures to put up. And I got to put them all up, and then the site's already set in private mode. And then I'll send it to John with a link and a code, and then they can go all look through it and see if there's anything they don't want up there. I got my very first picture I ever took when I was there is his wife on a Tuesday night, and she looks like she'd ready to slap the shit out of somebody. I was like, I got to keep this one. It's a good picture of her, but she just got this really intense look on, like, don't mess with me, people. Just leave me alone. Let me at least get my glass of wine before you come over here and start messing with me.
Now she produces the event now, so there's a lot of moving parts on that she has to keep track of. But I'm just curious, Scott, now as an author, because you've got a full-time job, plus you've got a family with some serious family needs that you need to also be responsible for. Then you're also writing, and then you got to get up in the morning and milk the cows and pull the weeds out of the wheat field or something. So what's your schedule like, and how do you fit in writing?
It's not so easy, but I try to, I get up at 6. I'll just give you the whole thing. I stretch because otherwise I feel bad the whole day. Then a quick breakfast, and then I either take my girls to school. I have one girl who has an illness, so she generally can't go to school. But or if my wife's able to do that, then I go to the coffee shop and I write for 1 to 2 hours. 2 is always the goal, but it depends on the work schedule. But I like to do it in front of people. I don't know, a little background noise, a nice espresso. It's my thing, Yeah. And too many pastries, unfortunately.
But nothing wrong with some pastries, man.
Then I go to work and work till 6 usually, come home and do the family thing, or I work out and do the family thing. So that's my main schedule. But I always tackle too many projects because we have all that. Then we have the museum that we've put together, and it's a little museum of Orange County history, and
that's cool.
It's too much, but I don't know how to stop.
Yeah, it is. It's once you start living like that, it's hard to stop. Well, people were laughing because I was last year before last. I was talking to somebody at the event, and they're like, "Do any of y'all ever stop?" She said, "I thought John and them were busy, but I watch you." I said, "No." I said, "Anybody who's involved with this in a working way is just going the whole time they're there." For some reason or another. I probably get less movement than they do because I can sneak around and sit down and get a picture here or get a picture there. Or, of course, a lot of times I like to go sit and listen in the classes and get in. And I usually sit on an angle so I can see the class and take pictures. But I also get to listen, so I'm learning just like they are. I've learned all kind of stuff sitting there listening.
Well, I totally agree with the expression. If you want something done quickly, give it to a busy person.
Yeah,
I found that to be completely true in life.
Well, I usually get up around 7, and by the time I get through with my day job, I usually get in around 6. That's why I got Michelle managing the station, because on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays I'm hosting, and Saturdays I'm hosting. So like Friday night, I don't get through till about 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And then I'm usually up again because my chihuahuas think Daddy needs to be up at 7. Oh, it's time to get up, Dad. No, it's not. Oh, yes, it is. And people, don't have chihuahuas unless you're ready to wake up when they want to wake up. And it's a nonstop. But at least I know when I cross over, I won't be going, well, I wasn't sitting around idle for the whole entire time. I was busy, and I like to be busy. It keeps me out of trouble. It really does.
Yeah.
It's and I can't sleep, so I don't never sleep more than 6 hours. So I need to keep busy until I go to sleep. It's and I can't even. I'm one of the people you can't even put anything new on around me when I'm going to bed, or I'll stay up another 2 hours. It's so I got to find something stupid I've probably seen 500 times, which drives other people in the house crazy. Yeah, but it's. Yeah, so put me to sleep. What is that, Janine? He just told you he's got kids and he's married. I'm going to ban that question in the future. I was talking with Michelle about that.
I know it's flattering. I'm just gonna imagine what she might be thinking.
It's funny. We get it. I have not. I don't think it's. Somebody's always asked that question on every show, and I guess there's a lot of single people listening. No, John's
13 and 15.
Oh my God, bless you.
They are amazing.
Bless you. You're going to heaven for sure. It's
I gave him the talk a while back. The talk was men are evil. They will say anything to get what they want.
They're evil, no good dogs.
My wife does the other half.
And then I always told my stepdaughter, I said, they're evil and I will kill them. You do know that, right? So you just need to. So I love they'd come to pick them up. I said, I'm not a really dad, so I will mess you up bad. Oh, but Mr. Joe, no, Mr. Joe, you do exactly what you told me. You have everything exactly the way, or your daddy will be visiting you in a pine box. They were always like, and I'm kind of a scary looking guy to start off with. And I stepped, he's just a big teddy bear. He'd never do that. And the guy's like, yeah, whatever. They're like, whatever, man. Oh, Lord. I wish I could scare my daughter-in-law like that. She don't care. She's hard-headed. It's, what's that, Janine? No, I mean, no, there's, what do you mean? Paperback versus hardcover. What are you talking about? Most books you can get in both. Not all, but most you can get in both. No, I do prefer hardback.
Future are one format, right? Trade paperback
now? Yeah, now the Rise of the Future, this one here was mass market, which is also called pocketbook, because it was originally the size of it that you could actually fit in your dungaree pockets or something like that. And then trade paperback is the same size as like a hardcover book, but it's a soft cover instead of a hardcover. It's like 6x9, so it's like
they have really nice artwork now, full color and
glossy. Yeah, the artwork
is a big
change.
Nice. Yeah.
I was the last year of the pocket size, and what's to my
29 actually was.
Oh, 29 was okay.
Yeah, volume 30 is where we switched.
Well, I like the size they have now. I prefer it.
I like it
because when I'm looking at, I just prefer it that way myself.
Well, mass market is pretty much is a size that's going out of existence. You very rarely find them. You got trade paperback, hardcover, and then ebooks. That's the other thing that's really popular right now. The different ebooks.
Mike, ebooks are on their way up, but ebooks are almost always cheaper. Well, it's an ebook. That's why. Well, you're getting something. You're getting the book. You're just getting it electronically. Yeah, no. What are you talking about? No, when you buy an ebook, you don't get a paperback copy. You just get the ebook online. It's an electronic. You can download it
on Amazon. They've got a thing. If you buy the paperback for an extra $1 or something like that, you can get the ebook too. So that you can go back and forth, and just when you read you can keep, you can work through your book faster that way. You can also do it with an audiobook. If you buy the audiobook and you buy the ebook on Amazon, where you stop listening or stop reading, it moves you forward to where you are. It syncs, and it'll be
too.
Yeah.
I think Nook is doing that now too, as well.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I use
It's a cool feature. Yeah.
Kirby, no, I just like hardcovers because it's just for my personal library. Paperbacks I always give away, yeah, except for the ones that are autographed. I don't give away. It's no, we don't have a Linden library anymore. Katrina took care of that. It was I don't know. I thought we had 2,000. The wife said we had 4,000. Anyway, somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 books we had in the house, all autographed, by the way, all of them. Different people: Michio Kaku, Neil deGrasse Tyson, politicians, doctors, lawyers, paranormal people, UFO people. Yeah, they all were. Different conferences I lectured at and stuff like that. It bit when the storm came. That's all I can tell you. I'm back up to probably 300 personal books, but I give away a lot of books now. So yeah. But I tell people all the time, if you're sending it to me for a present for me, send it in an audiobook. Yes, I prefer to listen because I can drive. I do a lot of driving. I got 2.5 hours of driving every day, so it gives me a lot of time to listen to a book. Especially if it has listening to Missionaries has really good sound effects. It's a lot of fun to listen to it because the story is just we're not getting into that tonight. But I think I'm in 6 now. So when we get finished, whenever I finish this, which probably won't be till later in the year, whenever I get a chance to finish it, I'll get with John because John's already read it. So we'll get on and we'll talk about it. Actually, there's a lot of funny stuff in it. Oh yeah, there's a lot of funny stuff in it. It's not. I still
want to do that show with you as well on Hubbard as an author.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're going to do that too because I got through the 5 I've got here. Well, one of them was a picture book, so I guess it doesn't count. But no, John sent me. Oh, where's it at? Oh, this is it right here. I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. No, this ain't it. Nope, that ain't it. It's something else. Anyway, it's around here somewhere. I think one of the kids snatched it, but he actually sent me it's a picture book of stuff Ron Hubbard did. It's bigger than the other books. It's
called Images of a Lifetime.
Yeah, where the hell's it at? I got So anyway, I read what is it? Shaping Popular Fiction, the letters. I think this was the first one I ever got from you right here. Was letters and journals.
Well,
I think
this one here was
Shaping Popular Fiction. One.
Yeah,
well, that's the adventure.
That one.
And this one you're talking about here. This is Images of a Lifetime, Joe.
Yeah, that's it. It's somewhere in here. It's Well, no, John and I decided I want to go over them because, we'll talk about this real quick on the show, but it's not really meant for when we do this show. We're actually going to do it separately. I just felt like, you have Leah Rimes out there and a bunch of other people who are not giving anybody a fair shake. So I know a bunch of these people now, and no, I'm not part of any religion, people. But I know a bunch of these people now, and I would like to present this in a way that's not being just hated on because of someone's name. That's all. Well, there's a lot of interesting material here to go through. No, it's not like we're plugging him. It's just more of, this is who the man was, and you make up your own mind.
Yeah.
That's all we're doing. No, I've read a lot about him, both good and bad. I ain't going to lie. And we'll talk about a lot of it as we're going through the shows. But I want people to understand it's not what the 80s media, or I actually should say the 90s media, made it out to be. So there was a time in the 90s where it was just a horrible thing, and then it's been changing steadily since about 2009. But I'd like people just to get a fair shake and let you make up your own mind. Yeah. We'll talk about the good, we'll talk about the bad, and y'all can make up your own mind. It's a real simple thing. No. He did a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
That's all I can tell you. No, I just told you, man's married with kids.
He created this Rise to the Future, which he continues to fund it. He put it in his will.
That's another good
40 years. There's almost 1,000 people that have been presented awards and given their launching pad to get started, and that's where we got Scott here. That was part of what helped get his career.
For me, it's even bigger than that because people like Scott are putting out entertainment that that's not going to cost you $1 million first off to listen to or read or whatever. that may end up as movies somewhere down the line for whatever reason they might be. I'm tired of the Starboard, Netflix, Hulu, Prime. Oh, let me just throw this button, and don't get me wrong, some of them turn out to be decent, but for the majority of them, the majority of stuff I'm seeing being made like that is crappy. That's the only way I can say it. It's not that there's not some good stuff in between. It's just the majority of stories. And it's not just me. I mean, Netflix viewers are down, Prime's viewers are down, everybody's down. And part of it's COVID because we watched so much during COVID. And of course, there was also the strike. So it pulled everything down. But these guys like Steven are going to be the ones that save our asses because they're going to be the ones that are putting out the stories that eventually will be what we get to hear. Well, you can read them first, ladies and gentlemen, but I mean, eventually they'll either be the audiobook you're listening to or the new movie or the new series, because not all these get turned into movies. Some of them get turned into miniseries or into series themselves. Look, people, if Leah Rhymes can get a freaking series, anybody can. I'm just telling y'all, anybody can get one. I'm just saying. No, I never did like. I never even liked it when she was in Kings and Queens. Something about the woman I never liked. No, it's a personal thing. That's all. What is that, Jimmy Laredo? Sorry, Jimmy Laredo. Where are you from, Mr. Laredo? Where are you from? Oh, Las Vegas. Hey, what you doing out there? Win me some money and send it to me. Look, I'll send you $1. When you make it into $1 million, you send it to me. And since since John and Scott are on with me, I'll have to split it with them. But not really. Oh, you want what? The luckiest casino I've ever gambled at was the Orleans. I won a lot of money there. After I lost a lot at the MG and the Lexer and the Flamingo. Well, I lost my ass off. We're not even going to say how much I lost. It's embarrassing. You could probably buy a house for what I lost. It was sad. Oh, but I won the all back plus. Yeah. I was down there for 14 days. I was doing a lecture in not Las Vegas, right above Las Vegas, right over above the dam. Oh, I can't think of the dam. It's a famous town. I just can't think of the name of it. No, it was fun. No, it was.
Was it Reno?
No, it wasn't Reno. Laughlin. It was Laughlin.
Oh, yeah.
And we spent a lot of money there. We spent a lot of money in Vegas. The whole trip cost us like $22,000, and we won it all back. Everything we lost, all the trip, everything. Linda and I hit this casino, and I'm not kidding you. Every other machine we sat down at, we won on. It was insane. It got so bad. I had 2 prostitutes follow me around the hotel trying to offer me their services. I'm not kidding you. The security guy finally came up and said, "What are y'all doing?" He said, "Do you know them too?" I said, "Not really." He said, "You get out of the damn hotel." It was funny, but it was out. It was the very last night we were there too. We were getting ready to leave the next day. We were checking out the next morning. Yeah, so you never know what's going to happen in Vegas, people. No, I wasn't going to be unhappy.
Anyway, so he had a question.
Yeah, what was the question anyway? Since we got off on it, what was the question? What did you? Well, scroll back up and bring the question back to where it was. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know. So he was say, could you do something like a sci-fi Western? So that would be like Gene Roddenberry, almost a sci-fi Western. Isn't that what Star Trek was?
Yeah, there's been a few of them out there. I've done fantasy Westerns, but I've never tried sci-fi. But isn't there Cowboys versus Aliens? Wasn't that Afghanistan?
Yeah. There's also this little movie that came out a few years ago with all these blue people.
So he instantly writes, "What's the difference between fantasy and sci-fi?"
Uh-huh.
How old are you? Wait, really? If you what? 50? What? No, get out of here. You don't know the difference. I'll let Scott explain it to you because I'm just not believing you.
Science fiction has a strong element of a technology in it. Depending on who you're talking to, like Heinlein thought it should be a main part of the plot. Obviously, if you get into something like Star Wars, the science is not real. There is no such thing as a lightsaber, and there's no.
Hey! I will lightsaber your ass up, buddy. What are you talking about here?
Okay, I stand corrected. But and then fantasy has magic of some kind, which is the superpower.
I like
so that's the difference between the two, really.
Now, also in this book here, when Hubbard wrote it in the early '80s, Battlefield Earth, he wrote an introduction, and here is another definition. He says, "So, what would pure science fiction be? It has been surmised that science fiction must come from an age where science exists. At the risk of raising dispute and outcry, which I have risked all my life and received but not been bothered by, and have gone on and done my job anyway. I wish to point out some things. Science fiction does not come after the fact of a scientific discovery or development. It is the herald of possibility. It is a plea that someone should work on the future, yet it is not prophecy. It is a dream that precedes the dawn, where the inventor or scientist awakens and goes to his book or his lab saying, I wonder whether I can make that dream come true in the world of real science. And he goes on in the history of going all the way back to Lucian. And then he says, and what is fantasy? He says, well, believe me, if it were simply the application of vivid imagination, then a lot of economists and government people and such would be fully qualified authors. Applying the word imaginative to fantasy would be like calling an entire library some words, too simplistic, too general a term. In these modern times, many of the ingredients that make up fantasy as a type of fiction have vanished from the stage. You hardly even find them in encyclopedias anymore. These subjects were spiritualism, mythology, magic, divination, the supernatural, and many other fields of the type. None of them had anything really to do with the real universe. This does not necessarily mean that they never had any validity or that they will not again arise. It merely means that man currently has sunk into a materialistic binge. And then he goes on to define it more, but fantasy, so far as literature is concerned, is defined in the dictionary as literary or dramatic fiction characterized by highly fanciful or supernatural elements. Even that is a bit limited. So fantasy can be called any fiction that takes up elements such as spiritualism, mythology, magic, divination, the supernatural, and so on. The Arabian Nights, he talks about 1001 Nights of Entertainment, and he goes on to how that works on it. But he really breaks it apart. So right now you have a lot of science fiction and fantasy starting to meld, and he had it as two really separate, subsets of that type of literature.
They had different readerships at the time, and they were oftentimes different sections in the bookshelves.
Yeah.
And science fiction, it was considered a male genre, and men read it, and fantasy was usually women.
Yeah.
And all of that's gotten mixed up, thank goodness.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's pretty interesting. You can go online and see things like that NASA scientists said they created, but they were inspired by Star Trek, the show, the TV show. And they said, I bet we can do that, but it was just somebody's imagination. I think weren't cell phones inspired by
the flip phone was definitely inspired by, and a lot of people still didn't want to get that flip phone up because of their communicator. But today's hospital beds can take your pulse, they can tell your weight, they can do all sorts of stuff they used to not be able to do. So they're getting more and more like the ones you used to see in Star Trek. So pretty soon they'll be able to do everything the Star Trek beds did plus. It's amazing how much the guy who invented laser said he got it from sci-fi. I think he was watching something in the 20s. What was it? Not Buck Rogers. Maybe it was Buck Rogers. Anyways, one of those sci-fi movies from back then. And he said that's where he got the idea of the laser from. I was like, really? So y'all be surprised how many. There's actually a list somewhere. I think NASA has it. There's actually a list of ideas that came from sci-fi, either TV shows or whatever. And a lot of them came back from the old radio days of sci-fi, which kind of cracked me up a little bit. But hey, if it works, it works. I'm all into new stuff.
It's really is too. There's a lot more to imagination than there is today. Because now with super, super high-tech CGI, I look at some of the earlier stories and movies I used to watch, and it was so vivid in my mind, and I look at it and I go like, wow, that is so not what you have today. Like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and The Wild Wild West, and those were amazing stories back there in the 70s. Yeah. And I love them, but those special effects, even you're talking about what's his name in the 40s and 50s, the science fiction. It was
not Star Trek or Buck Rogers.
Buck Rogers, yeah, Buck Rogers. You know how they had the spaceship there? They had a wire. They put the little spaceship on it. And then they put a sparkler in the back, and they moved it along, and that was So when you looked at your imagination filled in everything. Now you're gonna go like, how cheesy is that? But that back then it was like, wow, and what it did to your imagination to kick it into full gear was like, it was amazing. Some of the stuff there. So there's a lot to be said with your own imagination being appealed to, rather than having all the blanks filled in. So you just have to look and be a spectator. Because then you used to contribute to the stories.
The theater of the mind.
Yeah.
Well, and to circle back all the way back to the Harry Potter series, I
Yeah.
think one reason among many that it was so popular is it talks about some really important things. No politics, nothing current, nothing, real,
Mhm.
but it talks about how people can be in denial of, authoritarianism rising right in front of them, which if you look at history, and I'm thinking of Germany right now, was the case. Many of the people were in complete denial of what was happening right in front of their eyes.
Yeah.
And people refusing to say the name of someone they were afraid of, and courage and good versus evil, and all of these subjects that are really deep, and we'll never be rid of them, right? They're
Right.
timeless,
They are
and she was
timeless,
able to
but
do that without going into politics or anything, in a very, very subtle way, and also without trying to brainwash anyone in a certain point of view. I just thought they were just brilliant, and that's how I
Well,
try to write
science.
too, is to go for the deeper, the ultimate issues rather than anything current.
Which is something that science fiction and fantasy can safely address. You know, you have some of the earlier pulp, right? You're talking about, addressing some of these issues, but like Heinlein, very much he had his religion and various takes on religion. A lot of science fiction will address religion, and the fantasy with and also Asimov politics. You know, there's a lot of religion and politics that's addressed, but you take it away from right now and the location and put it someplace else, then you can actually look at it as something different, and you can evaluate it because it's not called what yours is, it's called what somebody else is calling it now.
Yeah,
So
everyone can learn from it, no matter what their political affiliation is
right,
today, and
right,
yeah, who their favorite candidate is, and everything is, because it's not here, it's not now. It's great.
yeah, it gives you the ability to do that, which is good. So that's what you like to strive for with your writing.
I do, yeah, and not the political so much, but good versus evil, and courage, and lots of themes like that. That I think, the value of honesty, friendship, this sort of thing. I think they're. It sounds so simple when you say it like that, but and yet we see that our world is so false, and so
Yeah,
there's so little courage, such a lack of courage out there and everything today, that we need to talk about these things.
no, that's good. And to put it into a platform that somebody can actually look at and not feel challenged or that they have to defend themselves. Because that's the thing too, that if you give a person a book, they can just sit down and not feel like they need to defend themselves or attack or anything else. They can just
Yeah,
enjoy it and they're like, oh, that's ridiculous. Oh, that's pretty cool, and have their own thoughts about it. Which is good. And
yeah,
you can discuss the book, and you end up discussing these points that you're trying to put attention on, without getting into, well, I think this is, and I think that's. You can just say, well, the book, the main character is pretty cool because he did the right thing.
exactly. I mean, number one is, for me in my books, is that sense of wonder I talked about. Number
Yeah.
two is adventure, and dread. I like the emotion of dread, and then beyond that, if I can add a few of these ultimate issues, at least get people thinking about it without
Yeah.
telling people how to think, then that would be a home run.
That's absolutely correct. One of the things that I know Hubbard liked to do, one of the which Heinlein said I didn't realize, but there's another storyline that is what you write that I didn't know existed, with the man that learns better. So
Mhm.
it's not everybody's always doing the right thing in the right position in life, and they've made some wrong decisions, but then they come up to some crossroads and they decide to do the right thing. A lot of the stories are that. Someone did, it's never too late to change your mind and do the right thing, and you can say that's a very religious. Okay, it's very whatever you want to call it. It's also a good thing for living within a group of within a society. It's never too late to change and do the right thing.
Right. Yeah. The thing I'm writing now, which is not what's coming out in September, but maybe a year from September or something like that. Fantasy, sort of a high fantasy thing. And the lead character, a young woman who finds a mask, and the mask can influence people. And I actually did a draft of this back when I was in college, which was a couple of years back. But now it is so relevant because you have all this social media, which didn't even exist back then. But
Yeah.
I realized this is a great metaphor for that. And of course, she gets tempted into using it for very selfish means, and everything goes wrong essentially. And yeah, she has to learn better, or not.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
Or not. There's
What's your
always a
book?
possibility in my stories that they fail to learn.
Yeah. What's your books coming out this fall?
Memories of Lucinda Eco is the title. And yeah, it's a young adult fantasy set in Baja. So yeah, so it starts out with a girl whose grandmother loses her memories, but lots of things happened, and she believes it was actually a curse and someone stole her memories. So it wasn't just Alzheimer's or something. It happened like that. And she finds out through her investigations that her grandmother was actually a witch and knew some secret that someone wanted to get a hold of. And she ends up discovering where the memories are stored, and she has to relive them one by one and find out what is this terrible secret and who is this enemy. And it's pretty cool, I think. Every other chapter is today with the girl's point of view, or 1967 when her grandmother was 17 and became apprenticed to a warlock. Also in Baja, so it's all set in Baja. I think it's pretty cool.
Great, it sounds it.
Thank you. Yeah, I've had a few first readers, and Lauren Kate, who wrote the Fallen series, mentored me on the book. So,
that's
I think
good.
It's going to come out pretty well.
Are you publishing through KDP or?
Yeah, that'll be one of the platforms. So I am self-publishing.
Yeah.
The publishing world is in flux right now, and first of all, you have to find a publisher. But even when you do, I now have a master's degree in publishing. It takes them now 3.5 years on average after the contract is signed to get your book out for first-time authors.
Hell with that.
Not for big authors, but if you're a first-time author, they just put you in the queue. 3.5 years later, after you are lucky enough to get a contract, your book finally sees the light of day. So
now there's also, I don't know if are you familiar with Ingram Spark?
Right, and Draft to Digital. I think I'm going Draft to Digital probably, but those are both great aggregators. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be speaking at the Superstars this coming weekend, and I'm also doing several podcast interviews. One of them was with the head of Ingram Spark, Dion McAdoo. So I'm going to be presenting as another avenue besides Kindlepreneur, which is Ingram Spark, for somebody to get their books published. What do you do? And so Ingram is a big competitor then for Amazon, or Amazon is a competitor for Ingram. And then you said there's a third one there too. So I'm going to get all three of them so people can actually see, okay, here's your options, what you can do if you want to go the self-publishing route.
Mark Lefebvre, you can talk to if you want him on.
Yeah, I'm interviewing him. I'm interviewing him this coming Wednesday morning.
Yeah, so he's on Draft to Digital.
It'll be the third time I'll have him as a guest. He's a great guy. I love him.
Yeah, so probably a lot of people don't know what we're talking about, but it's a place you can take the book that you wrote and you can put it up on Ingram Spark, and Ingram Spark will then distribute it to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, all of these places. You don't have to go to them individually and upload. So it's a great service. Naturally, they want a few percent of your sales, and I can't believe some people actually get uppity about it, like they want some of my money. Well,
yes, they want my money.
Yes, a service.
Go for traditional then. When you give them 80% of your money.
But yeah, those are great services.
Yeah.
It's all of these self-publishing things. I got a friend of mine. What's he? Greenlee. What the hell is he own? He started doing publishing himself because that's what he did. He wrote 4 or 5 books, and he said, "The hell with this! I'm gonna start publishing them myself." And then he started his own publishing company, and then that was 15, 16 years ago. But he mainly just does UFO books and paranormal books, stuff like that. As far as I know, he doesn't do anything outside of that genre. It's and I was kind of like, really? And he said, yeah, he just does a few books a year. I think he takes 12% or something. And he may have gone up since COVID. I don't know. Everybody seems to have gone up since COVID. And but still, 20% of a book's not bad because the publisher's going to take more than that. So.
Yeah. Kevin Anderson started his publishing house to be able to handle all of his books and to be able to, because he's got over 100 books. So now with that, he's able to keep everything in print because he's got his own WordFire press. And then Dean Wesley Smith has his own WMP, I think it's called. His own WMG, has his own publishing house to keep all of his works. He and Chris Rush's books in print. So that's definitely a solution, on it. I'm meeting with Toni Weisskopf, who's the publisher of Baen Books, at next week as well, and interviewing her. And that's the biggest indie publisher in the U.S., science fiction and fantasy. So I'm talking to her about how it's changing, what's happening with her on the stuff, because she publishes several of our winners and several of our judges.
Yeah, I don't think Baen has a 3.5 year list. But I bet it's a 1.5 years or 2, though. I'll bet.
It's definitely got a runway, but they're indie. They're the biggest indie. They're not the traditional. Traditional is definitely got that major lead time.
Right.
A lot of people out there want to get their books published. I say just write the damn thing, put it on Amazon, hope for the best. That's what I'm saying. Or get out and get the right. Well, that's something. When I was talking with the authors, when I've been talking with lots of authors for 4 decades now, or 3 decades, and it's you got to publish them. I mean, you got to do something with them. You want them out there. You want to do, but what they don't realize is you can be with any publisher in the world, and if they're not paying for the advertisement, the book's not going to sell. You've got to get out there. So I tell them all the time, don't be scared. Call radio shows. He said, oh no. I said, call big ones too. He said, why? I said, because I said, think about it. There are currently right now over 1 million podcasts in the United States, producing about 8 million hours a week. Well, guess what? They need guests, and they need guests out the freaking union. Even, Coast to Coast tells me all the time, you got something new to talk about, give us a call. We're always, we need 4-hour guests. They're doing 7 days a week, 4 hours a night. They need guests. If you've got a book or you've won or it's an interesting book, they want to hear from you. Because, of course, a lot of times what they do now is split into the 2 and 2, but still, they need guests. So now they're splitting in 2 and 2, they need 2 guests a night. So that's 14 guests a week. And that's just that one show. And like I said, you can go on iHeart and look for shows that may be more, orientated to what you want to do. Author shows like these are all over the place, and they're going to have different guests, drawn by the host and stuff like that. So, you can hit those shows and tell people, hey, you might get 10 books, you might get 10,000 books. Because you never know when you get on one, because you never know how lazy the audience is. I call it audience lazy because I can see how many people, what listeners we got. And on book sales, I see less than 1% on this network and sales and does with books. And that's probably for every 2 or 3 million people. I don't know why. And I can't say that completely. I have seen 1 or 2 books that have done really well here, but for the most part, no. I know we've been running specials with Writers of the Future and 2 other companies, and I haven't seen any kind of real movement other than 1 or 2 here, 5 or 6 here, nothing. As far as I know, last time I talked to Mel Maliva, they hadn't even moved any with them. So I have no idea what drives one sale, what doesn't drive one sale. I think a lot of times it has more to do with the guest that comes on and publishes the book or promotes the book correctly. Because I can talk about books all night long, and I can do it in my own voice, and I can do them fancy, I can do them slow, I can do them in between. But in the end, the audience really don't give a shit what I'm saying. Excuse my language. They would rather hear it come from your voice. They would say, okay, Scott, you got this new book out. Tell us about it. We want to hear it from you. And they like that because then they know what you look like and they hear you. So if you're ever anywhere signing books, they'll recognize you right off the bat. So it makes it easier for that. And those, when we do it like that, we tend to sell more books than we don't. But the things I see selling here are cars, soft drinks, coffee, creamer. We sell a lot of creamer. From what Carnations tells me, we sell a lot of creamer from her. I mean, when he told me how many things of creamer, or actually Carnation products we sold, I was amazed. I really was. And they keep adding more shows to their list with us. They're happy, so I'm happy. Full just wants to bring on other shows, but Michelle won't let them. It just says they host her 2 shows, or they sponsor her 2 shows actually, and so she don't have to pay for them. And she said, I don't want to share them with anybody. I was like, Michelle, you got to share. She says, but they're looking. So, I mean, stuff like that tends to sell. But I think because originally this station was a paranormal station, Things like that sell better because paranormal people are weird like that. What I've learned about paranormal people, they're either nerds and they're readers or they're not. So and I mean, when I say that, I mean, there's a stark contrast. So a lot of geeky nerds I know will pick up a book and read it, but a lot of them I know will not even look at a book. If it ain't on TV, a movie, or a game, they're not interested in it.
Right.
So and it's like I said, it's just a big stark contrast, and it's a bridge that's got to be gapped. But that's what I think. That's where I think the audiobooks will gap that bridge. I think eventually the audiobooks
Bridge
will
that gap.
Yeah. I think they'll eventually.
Whatever.
Yeah,
I
but
didn't
close
catch that either.
Yeah, but I know. Let's not go there. But anyway, we're hoping that they'll cover that area for us, and we won't have to worry about it. Because I really, truly, I mean, when I talk to him, when I'm doing interviews with him or in places like conferences stuff, I was sitting down with I think it was Nick Polk, who's got probably 150 books to himself. He's a 9 to 5 writer. He's a professional writer. That's what he does. He gets up every morning, goes in his office and writes 9 to 5. How he does it's beyond me. And he has talked about everything from God to demons to Jesus to cryptozoology, you name it. His butt's talked about it.
He's nonfiction.
Yeah, he's nonfiction. He sells, and he does well, and that's what he does. But when we were at a conference, we were talking. And I was just like, he said, Joe, we're sitting there and these group of guys came by. He said, I'm going to talk to them, but they're not going to buy any books. I'm like, why? He said, because they're geeky nerds. They're not readers. They're viewers. So they got to sitting and talking. Of course, they didn't buy any books, and I asked them, I said, hey, do y'all read a lot? Or, and they're all pretty much said the same thing. Oh, no, I like watching it on TV or on a game or on a CD or something like that. And I was like, okay. And then about an hour later, we're sitting there. He said, come here, I want to show you something. And these 5 guys came walking up. He said, now watch, every one of these guys will buy a book. And sure enough, every one of the guys bought a book. He said, you can just tell the difference. He said, it's an attitude thing. He said, these type of people who are interested in your book and they look at the title and they know it's probably good, but they don't have the time or the skills, or they're just outright lazy. They're not going to pick up the book and read it. But if that was an audio book, he said they will buy the audio and listen to it. And so
in a situation like that, do they sell downloads? Like, here, I'll sell you this, and you scan the QR code and download it, or do you have to have the physical?
Well, no, you can download the audio. A lot of people download audio. So right now with Mission Earth, I've downloaded the audio. It's actually it's on my pad. It's not on my phone, but it's on my pad, and I just throw it onto my car in the morning and just listen to it. It's easy for me, but it's the same thing anywhere in your house. I mean, nowadays, the way my house is set up, I can swipe to anything in my house and listen. I can swipe back to the stereo back here, which is really 1600 watt stereo, and listen that way. So that way I get the full round of sound effects rumbling my house around and stuff, especially with Mission Earth. There's some pretty good sound effects in there. And so it gets you to vibrating around. So I can actually see the difference. See, when I was young, I liked to read. As I gotten older, it's not so much that I don't like to, I just don't really have the time to. I don't have the time. So I'll usually, with audio, like later on tonight, I'll be working on putting the archives up today and tomorrow and working on a website. Well, there'll be either music or archives playing in the background that I'm listening to, but I couldn't read them because I'm using my eyes for the computer itself. So it allows the same thing with gamers. Gamers might want to listen to Mission Earth while they're, killing 5 million people on a TV somewhere. So they get the best because we're no longer a single task society anymore. Unfortunately, we have moved on to a multitask. So and most of these people today, from the X gens down, can listen to audio and play video, and it doesn't seem to affect them any. And they're having a good time. They're listening to the story, and you'll even see them sometimes pause a game. I was watching a guy on Twitch the other day. He paused a game because what he was listening to got really, really good, and actually we were all listening to it because it got really, really good. And then when he was done with that part, he went back to gaming again, and it's just a different world today. So we have to be prepared for all of those things. And then I was giving John AI the first time I ever heard about AI. I was like, what the bullshit are we doing about this? I got too many friends that are illustrators and authors to see them get put out of work by some half-ass AI program. And to be frank with you, I just got through doing an investigation on an AI program out of Florida. I don't know if you had heard there was like 50 cop cars dispatched to a Florida mall recently in Miami, and they actually closed down the airport. So they said that there was some people walking around with guns in the mall. They gave all kind of bullshit reasons. You see outside the mall, you see what looks to be like 10 or 12 foot something walking around outside. And then inside the mall, they're trying to show you this stuff, but you can see the hands are outstretched and the feet. That's a typical screw up of AI. So right there, I knew just in those 30 seconds, I knew that inside video was AI. It wasn't a real video. Whatever they were trying to pawn it off on wasn't real. It was AI. So and you just have to learn. But as they get smarter, it's going to be harder.
Oh yeah.
And I don't. I think it's going to be harder for illustrators. It's going to be way harder for authors. I don't know. I've never really, other than the comic book, I've never really seen AI put together a really good story. The comic books they seem to be able to do, but that's a little bit different. And Jeff Weiner showed it to me first. We did a show, and he actually did a comic book while we were on air. It did this whole comic book in under 10 minutes. It made the balloons, it made the pictures, it made the story, the whole thing. He wrote in like 4 paragraphs, and it came out with a sellable comic book. Probably not the best comic you ever read, but it was a sellable comic book. I was in,
scary, right?
Yeah, I was impressed with it. I was like, well, ain't this just a bitch? So, well, I mean, because like I said, I got a lot of friends that are authors, and more than that, I don't want to be watching the big screen TV and think that, oh, some computer made this movie, however good it is. I don't know. It's not something I'm ready for yet, I guess. Yes, whoever said that, I'm still living in the past. Y'all can bite me. How's that?
We're all going to have to be plumbers or welders.
Yeah. It's well, I want to see people get credit. I did talk with a company down here. This big Cayman company came down to Louisiana, and they're paying all their employees $100,000 each, all their illustrators and authors and stuff like that. So I actually asked for an interview with him, and I finally got it. And I said, "Well, look, dude," I said, "what are we doing with this AI? Are you going to be using it?" He said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Because it allows for shortcuts." He said, "But," he said, "I told my authors, or my writers, what he calls me. He said, this is what I want y'all to do." He said, "I want you to introduce stories to the AI and work with the AI to get the story better and better and better." He said, "So what you're going to end up really getting is part AI, part human stories, what you're going to get. So the human's going to set, he's going to tell a human what he wants for this story. And then the human's going to go and set the story up. And then him and the AI are going to work through the story until it's to what they want to be." Same thing with the illustrators. So he said he'll always still have the same amount of writers and illustrators because he just doesn't trust AI to do it 100% on its own, especially when it comes to changes. He said, "I'll be honest with you, Joe. I don't want to be telling the computer myself what to do." He said, "I'd just rather tell one of these guys." And he said, "And I don't want to tell a programmer." He said, "I want to tell someone that actually understands what I'm saying. An author will understand when he's using author lingo." He said, "He'll understand what I'm talking about." And illustrators the same way. He said, "So that's what he's doing." Now, if everybody does that, then it's not a big deal. It's not going to harm anybody. But I've already heard Netflix talking about when they're going to release their first totally AI written story. I was like, really? I'm not watching it right off the bat. I wrote to him. I said, "So I'm getting rid of y'all if you do it." That's what I told him. I just, what else are you going to do? I'm playing.
I did an interview. You played it up a little while ago. And the thing on it on AI stories, because we got into the legal part of it. She was a lawyer. And the thing about it is, at least from my perspective, is there's a concept that an AI is sentient, and that's the assertion on it. And it isn't.
No, it isn't.
It just isn't. And so the whole idea of storytelling or art is the senior creative being a creator and not robotic. So if you're using, like I use Grammarly to help me on when I do the final thing to polish when I'm writing my articles or press releases, something like that. I'll use Photoshop. You can use stuff on there to help fix up something, to change colors if the editor says, "Okay, it needs to be a red sword and not a blue sword." That type of stuff. You can do that, which is an assist. It's a servo mechanism. It's not the actual creative. And that's a point of dispute from some people that assert, okay, the computer is this, and it just isn't. So it's as good as what it's been able to pull in, scrape from the internet, and that's what it's learned. So it doesn't create; it uses what it already has and mixes it and whatnot. I don't know if you've got an opinion on this stuff, Scott, but that's mine, and I'm sticking to it.
So you probably know I have a little online magazine called NewMyths,
Yeah.
And we decided, most magazines are just trying to ban the AI content. We decided to just be contrarians and allow it, as long as the authors said this was generated through AI. And we were going to run a contest to see, without at first labeling whether things were AI or not, have the readers, choose what they preferred. To my amazement, we got very few AI submissions. We couldn't run our contest. It actually made me happy, because I was afraid everyone was going to use it.
That's good.
It was good. We did get one. I mean, there may be some people who are lying about it too, but I don't understand why. We paid the same rate. We publish it if they were honest with us. But we got one story that was pretty good. And the conceit was, write a Dungeons and Dragons type story in the style of Anthony Bourdain was the prompt. And it ended up being a pretty good story, but he had to go back over and over and over. At the end, he put all the prompts that he used and say, this paragraph is not enough Anthony Bourdain style. Please redo it, but after he went through it many, many times, maybe 30, 40 prompts, it ended up being a pretty decent story, and we published it. But yeah, we still have the open call if people want to submit AI stories in the NewMyths magazine, but we're getting very few. We got about less than 10 out of 2,000 submissions.
Damn.
So that tells you that the authors haven't embraced it very much yet. It probably will happen. I'm sure the producers and the bean counters have embraced it completely, but the writers are resisting.
Yeah. No, we put rules in it for Rise of the Future that we don't accept, where the story is created by AI.
Yeah.
I'm not interested to see how good a person can put together prompts. I want to see how good somebody can actually write a story, create a story. It's one thing to be able to, I don't really have a problem with using AI to help generate prompts, just like you can go out, like what you did on the Rise of the Future workshop, where you had go meet somebody, go meet a stranger. And Tim would pass around his little, here you go, you get a bottle cap, and here's somebody else gets a bottle opener, and someone else gets this is an ice cube. You get this different stuff. And it's interesting how we can use that, but we want the senior creative to be a real person. And same thing with art. We've actually had to reject someone who pretended to submit art as his own, when in actual fact was a AI art, and they got disqualified afterwards. So that was
they
definitely
need to be disqualified.
Yeah, we did, because this is for writers and for artists, for them to show their stuff and to be able to be accepted. So if they can't sit down and paint, print, do something that they themselves have created, then it's our judges, the people that they paint, they use paintbrushes. It's like a real thing that they're doing. So it's something that's really that's what this contest is about. Maybe somebody else has something else. Okay, here's the AI of the Future contest. That's fine. Somebody else can have that. That's not what we are.
I feel like I'm in Wayne's World. I keep getting these super close-ups now.
I know. This is like, whoa. Okay, keep talking.
What's going on here, man?
Everybody disappeared. I'll keep talking. There you go. Now Scott's by himself. I'm gone and Joe's gone, but
it's supposed to be doing whoever's talking, but it's being stubborn. So we're just going to put it back in its regular layout.
If I move just a little bit, you guys could try to find behind me the Isaac Asimov's book of dirty limericks that he wrote, which is one of my prized possessions, because it's the only science fiction novel in quotes that my dad owns.
Wow.
Yeah, my dad wasn't a big side when he was never. It's funny. He liked things like Elliot Ness and the Untouchables and the Rifleman and some other westerns. Come to find out, so Gene Roddenberry had wrote some of these, and what's his name? Irvin. He wrote a bunch. He wrote like Danger Will Robinson. He did a bunch of these sci-fis back in the day. Come to find out, he also did westerns and something else besides that. I didn't know that. I thought he only did sci-fi. And,
Lost in Space.
yeah, so yeah, he did Lost in Space, but he had I think seven series at one time to his claim, 7 sci-fi series running at the same time to his claim, along with some other stuff. I was like, wow, that's yeah. I'm thinking he can't be writing all these. There got to be a team of writers somewhere doing this, man, and he's just bitching. What do you mean? Danger Will Robinson is from yeah, that's where it's from.
Lost in Space.
Yes, and you know what? That robot in there, it was used in several movies and other places. They kind of would change it a little bit, but no, it was the same robot. You mean the first colored sci-fi movie? I don't know if that was the same robot. It probably was though.
It's a TV series with Billy Mummy.
Yeah. So, but they
Lockhart.
did. What's his name? Leslie Nielsen was in this movie, Forbidden Planet. They had the robot in that one. But that was a little bit earlier. That was in the 50s, I think. It was the first sci-fi color movie ever released. Yes. And the comedian, because in today's world, he's looked at as a comedian, was Leslie Nielsen. He played the leading man. It's good. It was actually a good movie. I mean, it's just today's, it doesn't hold up in special effects today, but it's not, you can live with the special effects. It's the weird ass sounds and noises it makes. It's a little hard. You have a little issue with the noises and beeps and clicks and shit it makes, but I mean, it was pretty good for the time. It talked about the id, so most people at the time didn't even know what the id was. Hell, most of you listen tonight doesn't know what the id is, so don't even go there with me, you bunch of egomaniacs. It's look it up and you know what I'm talking about. But that's I mean, basically that's what the series is about. But I found stuff like they had wireless equipment in there. It was funny though that they're when they had to talk, they had to pull out a cord and use a mic. No, people, everything's wireless today. Yes. Well, no one knew that back in the day. They did know that the electronics were going to be wireless, which was interesting because we have a lot of wireless electronics today. But as far as communications, no one ever thought of cell phones walking around. First series that did that was Star Trek with the communicator. Yeah. Yes, right. That was the first series that did it. And everybody wanted their flip phone because everybody wanted their Captain Kirk communicator. My business partner, one of them, he's still like, got to have it. I said, why don't you get a real phone? He said, it is a real phone. I said, no, it's a piece of junk. He said, I'm Captain Kirk. Beam me up, Scott. I kiss my ass. That's what you need to do with that. Yeah. But, a lot of people still want them. Now they get the new one, which all turns with the fancy screen and all. It's more like a tricord than it is a phone. No, this is my phone, people. This is it right here. It's a big old monster phone. 6.5-inch screen. Yes, 256 gigs of memory. It's a great phone. Yes, way better than that crappy iPhone I had. Yes.
Like this thing that I've got, my iPhone?
The iPhone. I like the pads. I'm not a big fan of the phones. I had the 12 and the 13 and the 14, and none of them compared to this phone. Just the cameras in this phone and the amount of memory this has and the processor speed, it just blows the iPhone out of the water. Because iPhone's always been like that. iPhone's always been for a selective group of people. They've never really competed with Droid because they don't feel like they need to compete with Droid. Even though for every iPhone sold, there's probably 10 or 12 Droids sold. They don't feel the need to compete. Please. Yeah, and then the other thing is...
because I've got a Mac here and I've got my iPad, so and I can immediately share something to it. I can do the AirDrop. This is also 256 meg on it, and it's...
So if you're in the iPhone system, or I should say the Apple system with the phone, the computer, the pad, it's a good thing. It's a great system to work with.
Yeah.
And but see, like this, I can tap my wife's phone, share everything that's on here with it, and I can tap, but I can't. It does not like my iPad though. I should rephrase that. My iPad doesn't like it. It's like, get that crappy phone away from me. I don't want that thing on here. It shares pretty good with it though. No, I mean, Apple's got a really good system, but Apple never. So it's like with Apple, when you go to the app world, a lot of times you'll get apps from Apple. They want you to pay weekly for them. Most of the Droid apps are free, completely free. And you'll find about 2/3 of Apple's apps are either weekly or monthly charges. They don't have near the free apps that the Droids do.
I haven't gone beyond the free apps on my iPhone.
Well, I went to go get one of those ones for your steps and your blood pressure, and they wanted $7.99 a week. I'm like, get the hell out of here! I might as well go see my doctor for $7.99 a week. And so I said, on this phone, it's free. It doesn't cost anything. It monitors my steps. It monitors my blood pressure. It does all kind of lovely things. Oh yeah, you can do all kind of stuff with your phones today, people. Yeah, they're great. Matter of fact, you could write a story on it, or in my case, talk about a story on it. Mm-hmm. Yes. What do you mean? Have I tried using the AI to write? No. Look, I'm at 71,000 words. I started this 3 years ago in LA, whatever the hell it was. Yeah, 3 years ago.
3 years ago, Rise of the Future.
I wrote the first. I was channeling Elron one night, and I wrote 11,000 words. And then, anyway, so but see, it's easy. I don't know what it is. It's easy for me to write there. First off, it's the attitude of everybody who's there. Plus, all the stuff is fresh in my head because I'm listening to all the judges, and even for me, even the winners are teaching me stuff. So. I mean, I get to listen to everybody, and everybody I'm talking to, so I can ask anybody questions. I still remember Dean said, "Just go write the damn thing, and we'll worry about the rest of it later." It's like, Dean, come on, man. He's like, "No, that's what you got to do." I'm like, "All right, dude, if that's what you say." I mean, what you gonna tell a guy who's got like 500 books, man? Just go do it. It's but here it's a lot harder for me to write. I don't have the concentration, and since this isn't an imagination thing. I have to go back and look at each day we were there. So it's 11 days. It was 11, almost 12 days we were there. And it's just a lot to write. Plus I got to go find all the stuff that came out on the hypnosis and stuff like that. And then I've got to include Linda's memories in there as well. So it's just a lot. And then stupid me haven't learned, write it and then go back and edit it. No, I got to stop, read the damn thing like 5 times, go back and change this, go back and change that. Even though every judge there told me not to do that, I'm still doing it. Hard-headed, I guess.
I guess. I just realized what time it was, and I've got.
Oh shit, we got to go. No, it's after 5. We got to get out of here. Scott, any place you want to tell them you're going to be hanging out? Anything coming up you want to tell them about before we roll out of here?
Well, thank you so much for the invite. I'm going to be at Superstars with John next week, which is in Colorado, and that's the only thing on the calendar at the moment.
Look forward to seeing you there. Then that'll be great.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been to Colorado twice this year already. I'm thinking about going back to Utah for one of the dark sky parks, but I might wait till later in the year. Anyway, guys and girls, we got to go. So y'all can catch Scott, go hang out with John and Scott, say hello out there in Colorado. It's always a great place to hang out. Colorado's a beautiful state. Even though it's a little weird of a state, it's still a beautiful state.
It's a lot weird, but it is beautiful. Anyway, I gotta go. So thank you very much. Good seeing you, Scott, and thanks, Joe.
No, get out of here and hit me with a text. I got your numbers from earlier.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So, guys and girls, we got to get out of here anyway. So be sure to come by and check us out every Saturday. We're right here from 3 to 5 or 3 to 5:30 some days. So you can catch us every Saturday. We're here, and you never know which author is going to be with us because Carmen only tells me 2 days for the show. So sometimes he tells me longer. But anyway, be sure to check everything out and just. There's a buttload of archives. There's 36 live shows on this network, right? Not including all the syndicated and prior stuff. So there's literally thousands and thousands of hours. On SoundCloud alone, there is 15,000 archives to choose from, over 35,000 hours of material. And that's only a quarter of what we own. So go check it all out. Write to your favorite host. Make a donation to the station. Help out where you can. And if you're interested in the show, I know Jody had asked me this earlier. The cheapest you can get on the network today is $100, and it's for an hour show. And of course, there's other things like getting on the Roku television system and features and stuff like that. That's all extra. And then other things that you can talk to Michelle about that actually may work you a better deal than I will, because she's actually the boss now. On that note, I got to go. Scott's got to go. We all got things we got to be doing. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to United Public Radio and the Author's Quill. I hope you enjoyed it. Any moans, groans, bitches, or complaints, please write to Michelle DeRoche, addressed to Jamo Montaldo. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend, people. And if you're down here in the South, stay dry.